All right. Let's see. Fantasy Chess 7. My favorite. First game in this series released in North America, so it's also kind of cool in a way. Um, Set about 20 years ahead of 6, where you're Roy. In this one, you have three, I guess, protagonists, main characters, lords, both the Lynn campaign and then the Elwood and Hector, similar but like from different POV main story campaign. Um, in this patch, there's a few little different things that this guy has done, which I like. There are slight changes, mostly related to difficulty and a little bit of balance. Some of the enemy types have been buffed. So, enemy Pegasi, of which there are quite a few, and they start off even in the second chapter, as we'll see, are a little stronger. They have a little more skill, a little more speed. But it shouldn't be anything too crazy to worry about. In a converse way, bows, which deal now triple effective damage to flyers as opposed to double, just like the Japanese version of this game, unlike the American release. Bows are a little stronger with that triple damage again now, so that's going to change my scope of the game a bit. And the creator gave bows +2 might also, so just flat across the board, they're going to deal more damage, deal more chip damage. So both mine and the numerous enemy archers are going to be a little different and stronger. Speaking of which, soldiers are also buffed. They're pretty standard, low tier, generic enemy type. I think he mostly just buffed up their strength and defense, although they might have a touch more speed, like I think enemies kind of do across the board to make it a little harder for you to double them. So we'll have a little better of soldiers to contend with, like brigands, who are just axe wielders. They're kind of like the scrubbiest scrub units of the game that we'll find for generics. And the other third type of enemy generic that's usually a little underpowered that is buffed up in this playthrough will be the monks, the light magic users. So I think they have light magic is +1 might across the board, and then he buffed up the monk stats with a little better base magic, I want to feel like. So they'll be doing a little more damage in general from the tomes being buffed, their weapons, in quotes, and then from their raw stats. Other than that, let's see. Okay, he's also made this. Some of the bosses, at least the ones that aren't holding down thrones that need to be seized for an objective win, will be now moving. Even if they were stationary before, like the Japanese edition of the game, which is going to be also a bit different for me. And I've played through this game at least 3 times, maybe 4 or 5, but definitely 3 to completion. So that's going to be a little different and probably going to throw me for a loop. The final chapter is also like the Japanese version, which will hopefully cross that bridge one day. I'm not going to bother talking about that at the moment. In the late game, he has buffed up a good bit. Once you kind of get through the mid game, the enemy, start to have even more raw stat improvements than they would on normal hard mode. So that will create a little more difficulty inherently, I do believe. And let's see, he's also made it so that your main lord, mine will be Hector, since this is going to be a Hector run through, just because the Hector campaign is slightly tougher than the Elwood campaign. Hector will not have to wait as long to promote. I believe he will now promote at the end of chapter 26, as opposed to at the end of chapter 28 or 29, as is usual. but that's so far from now, and we'll also cross that bridge when we get there. And there's a few other minor changes. Like I know one might be that assassins should still be able to steal once they're promoted. Once thieves promote into assassins, that is. Normally in the vanilla version of the game, they'd lose their ability to steal. So that should be remedied, and a few other like little things, and some of which are still blind to me. I have not watched a complete playthrough of this game, this ROM hack or anything. I know he's also added a couple recruitable units that otherwise were just green units, aka like friendly but NPC. So that'll be kind of cool. And then I've got a nice list I've made here of the raw stat bonuses to any of your potential recruitable units. And he basically just went around and gave everyone that was like on the lower mid to low side and practical like usage for a hard mode playthrough. He just kind of bumped up their base stats a bit. Usually not too crazily. Just a couple points of speed here or there, a couple points of strength, things like that. None of the characters' growths are changed, so they will all still have the same probability every level up to level up each stat as they normally would in the vanilla version of the game. But like, yeah, that being said, this is going to be a Hector mode playthrough. I've already rolled over the save file from starting with Lynn's campaign. Lynn's campaign also had hard mode bonuses, as does Ellawood's, which this game doesn't normally do, which I found really cool. It was nice to play through a Lynn mode that was harder. So anybody that comes in from this Lynn campaign, is going to come in with some better stats, which will be kind of nice, I feel like, since I know the later mid game and the late game will be quite difficult. And like I said, I've not seen anyone play through it. The creator didn't play through the game, I don't believe, until completion either, although that was at the time of its release. He may have at this point. So we're going in a little blind. That being said, that it will not be an Iron Man playthrough. I'm not going to keep pushing on even when people die. I'm going to play the normal, we'll say in quotes, way where if anyone dies, I reset the chapter. I may, once they get a little longer, start doing like a save, like give myself one save state in the middle of each chapter to like not have to roll back so much footage and recording. But I'll kind of just see how that pans out naturally. But yeah, Fire Emblem 7.